At last, Elon Musk's dangerously intrusive and unaccountable so called Department of Government Efficiency finally hit a major legal roadblock, with a judge issuing an order that limits Doge's access to highly sensitive U.S. Treasury payment systems. On the other hand, one of the engineers granted that access resigned in disgrace shortly thereafter, after his far right racist views were revealed to the public. But before we unpack all that, if you end up liking this video and you want to support the channel, please be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and alert bells before you go. All right, friends, we got a lot to talk about here. These just some pretty stunning developments, but I actually want to start with a clip from yesterday from Caroline Leavitt, Donald Trump's press secretary. One of the prevailing questions about Doge, even from people who nominally, ostensibly support the mission, is what checks are going to be imposed? What safeguards will be imposed to keep Elon Musk from running roughshod? And Caroline Leavitt's response to this yesterday didn't fill anybody with confidence because it suggested that we kind of trust Elon Musk to know where to draw the line.
You talked a bit about Doge. Elon Musk is currently a, quote, special government employee who also owns companies that have billions of dollars in federal contracts. You said earlier this week that he has abided by all applicable federal laws, but what steps is the Trump administration taking to address that conflict of interest?
The president was already asked and answered this question this week, and he said if Elon Musk comes across a conflict of interest with the contracts and the funding that Doge is overseeing, then Elon will excuse himself from those contracts. And he has, again, abided by all applicable laws.
So there you have it. That didn't fill anybody with confidence at all. Like, hey, listen, he's given extraordinary access. He has conflicts of interest. What are you going to do about it? Well, he'll excuse himself if he thinks there's a line being crossed. Not good. But we finally have some form of legal action, some form of limitation of Elon Musk's intrusion into our lives. So as the Wall Street Journal reports, judge approves limits on sharing Treasury data after Musk allies move in. Restrictions to remain in place for now while labor unions pursue lawsuit over access to payments information. A judge on Thursday signed off on a temporary agreement that limits the sharing of sensitive Treasury data amid a dispute over access granted to Elon Musk's allies as he spearheads a sweeping review of government spending. The agreement, brokered by U.S. District Judge Colleen Collar-Cotelli in Washington, allows two Musk allies who have been named Treasury employees to continue to access a payment system containing the personal and financial data of millions of Americans. But it prohibited the two men, Tom Krause and Marco Alez, from sharing sensitive Treasury data with anyone outside the agency. She also limited Krause and Alez to, quote, read-only access, meaning they can read records but not alter them. As far as checks go, this is the step in the right direction. I know it is insufficient because we really don't want these people even reading our information. But hey, at least we have a judicial order saying they don't have administrative privileges and they can't share it. If they do, they're violating the law. But here's where it gets really interesting. The White House said later on Thursday that Alez had resigned after the Wall Street Journal inquired about his connection to a deleted social media account that advocated for racism and eugenics. We'll talk about that in a second, but you can probably see where this is going. The agreement came after a lawsuit on Monday filed by a coalition of labor unions whose members are among the millions of people who receive payments from the federal government. The deal doesn't resolve the lawsuit, but rather it is intended to, quote, preserve the status quo until Collar-Cotelli can hear legal arguments, the judge said during a court hearing on Wednesday afternoon. She asked lawyers for both sides to hash out the standstill agreement, saying she would consider issuing a temporary restraining order if they were unable to agree on the wording of an interim order. And so it goes back into all the information. I will say this, even some of the verbiage here, the conservative Wall Street Journal, even they seem kind of shocked by this, or at least by what Musk is trying to do. Musk's allies have moved swiftly to exert control over swaths of the U.S. government, including at Treasury and the U.S. Agency for International Development. They have demanded access to sensitive information at federal agencies and laid out plans to block spending they deem excessive. The Musk allies affiliated with Doge included Krause, a Silicon Valley technology executive, and Alez, an engineer who graduated college in 2021 and has since worked at two of Musk's companies. So, Humphreys told the judge that Krause and Alez haven't shared any data they reviewed with anyone outside of Treasury, including Musk. Maybe that's true, maybe that's not, and maybe that was true only up until a certain point. Who knows what will happen in the future? All we do know is that one of these people, Alez, is no longer on payroll, so to speak. So this happened on the same day. Doge staffer resigns over racist posts. Employee has links to a deleted social media account that advocated for racism and eugenics. A key Doge staff member who gained access to the Treasury Department's central payment system resigned Thursday after he was linked to a deleted social media account that advocated racism and eugenics. Marco Alez, a 25-year-old who is part of a cadre of Elon Musk lieutenants deployed by the Department of Government Efficiency to scrutinize federal spending, resigned after the Wall Street Journal asked the White House about his connection to the account. Quote, "Just for the record, I was racist before it was cool," end quote, the account posted in July, according to the Journal's review of archived posts. Quote, "You could not pay me to marry outside of my ethnicity," the account wrote on X in September. Quote, "Normalize Indian hate," the account wrote in the same month, in reference to a post noting the prevalence of people from India in Silicon Valley. After the Journal inquired about the account, White House spokesperson Carolyn Leavitt said that Alez had resigned from his role. In recent days, Alez had emerged at the center of a legal battle over access to sensitive taxpayer information and systems the Treasury Department uses to process trillions of dollars in payments annually. And as we discussed in the previous article, Alez was one of the two engineers who was granted access, but limited his ability to share the data. Again, not nearly far enough, but at least some form of pushback. Alez didn't respond to repeated requests for comment. It goes into his personal history, which quite frankly I don't give a shit about in terms of like his education. But let's see. Musk personally urged people to apply to Doge on X in December, promising long hours and little pay in exchange for the chance to fundamentally remake the federal government. Some of those who answered the call appeared to be young Musk loyalists steeped in internet culture who share his worldview. The account at NULLLLPTR, a misspelling of a keyword in the C++ programming language, was deleted in December, but hundreds of brash, sometimes sophomoric posts have been archived. The user appeared to have a special dislike for Indian software engineers. Quote, 99% of Indian H-1Bs will be replaced by slightly smarter LLMs. They're going back, don't worry, guys, the user posted in December, referring to large language models such as OpenAI's ChatGPT. In June, the user weighed in on the conflict in the Middle East, offering some sympathy for Israel, but also posting, quote, "I would not mind at all if Gaza and Israel were both wiped off the face of the earth." The deleted account previously went by the username Marco Alez. That seems pretty damning. A review of archived post shows the user behind the account also described themselves as an employee of SpaceX and Starlink. So, what do we have? Well, some good news in the form of at least some sort of legal pushback and some legal roadblock to Elon Musk's engineers ransacking the U.S. Treasury. Not nearly enough, and we need to keep the pressure up, and it's only temporary. Also, some like really strange news in the sense that apparently one of those two engineers was a far-right racist eugenicist. That's not good. That's really not good. That's kind of strange that there seems to be a cluster at the heart of the MAGA movement that shares these radical, strange views, and this should be seen as a blemish on the Doge record, right? What kind of people are we putting in these positions? Rather a position that shouldn't exist in the first place, I should say, given that they're unelected, unappointed, and unaccountable. So that's where we are. Doge is apparently recruiting some eugenicists and far-right racists, and they were granted access to all sorts of personal information, including our social security numbers. But yeah, folks, we need to keep the pressure up. We need to keep the advocacy up. We need to keep pushing Democrats and others. And those of you who live in red states, make the Republicans, the elected Republicans in your states, in your district, feel that there would be political consequences if they give Elon Musk a blank check and that they need to exercise, even if you disagree with them, which I do. Try to appeal to their sense of vanity. Like, guys, are you really just going to let this dude totally cuck you out? You have Article 1 obligations and powers as elected representatives in the House of Representatives or in the Senate. You all shouldn't be just a rubber stamp for Donald Trump, but at least Trump was elected in the president. Certainly not this far-right billionaire Elon Musk, but we'll see what happens. In the meantime, let me know what you think in the comments.